My name's Brian, and I figured out some shit, and that's why you should be listening. I have lived a crazy ass life, and I'll turn 43 this year, but I have figured out how to be happy in life. And it comes with traumatic past, everything from being faced with 10 plus, 25 to lifes, to having all my money taken away, to losing all my money, to making some, to losing some, and having this ebb and flow, to where I am today, which is at complete peace with everything. And that's because of the pandemic. I got ADHD, and I'm a highly functioning ADHD, so I'm going to keep talking and doing my thing. It's just more natural for me. So hopefully you stick around. If you don't, I don't really give a fuck anyways, because just as a background, I'm originally from Hartford, Connecticut, and I think I was one of, I don't know, a handful of people who went to college. And I was forced to go to college by my dad. He was like, "You want to go?" He's like, "You got to move out, and when you turn 18, or you got to go, and I'll contribute some money towards college." And I was like, "All right, well, let me go to college, right?" So I went up to college at UMass, but still had all my old friends from the Hartford area, and we were from the other side of the railroad tracks. Like, there were some nice parts of Connecticut, but Hartford in general wasn't quite Boston, not quite New York. It's like where the outskirts of everybody kind of fell into. You know, they tried so many times to revitalize that city, but no, there was nothing much there. And they can't get any professional teams to ever come in there. Like, the only team that they root for is UConn, and everybody I ever like knew up in Connecticut went to UConn. Um, Growing up in Hartford, my parents didn't really spend a lot of time raising me, but my I spent a lot of time with my older brother. My older brother, I roomed with him. We were at bunk beds for the time that I was probably 6 years old until about 13 or 14. And my brother had mental health issues, and I basically became his little puppet. And I didn't know, you know, he's 3 years older than me, and so he just kind of ran me around, and we were doing things that we shouldn't have done, like robbing, stealing. And I was a kid. I was a lookout. I was a smart one. He was like, "Oh, you're smart. Go do this. Go do that." And I'm like, "Yes, big brother, whatever the fuck you say, right? What do you know when you're a kid?" I didn't really realize that he had run me like a puppet until I stumbled upon some of these more natural things, like the meditations and hypnosis, were kind of opened my mind to why I am so fucked up and why I was so fucked up, and how tragic some of those things from my childhood were and other traumatic experiences. Back to chill with my brother, he taught me how to do everything from like driving when I was probably 12, and I was packing his weed for him, and we were selling quarter pounds. He was calling me out of school. We were like just running amok and like doing all the worst shit possible. And I was still skating by because of the ADHD. I was able to just go in, and for whatever reason, I could remember the shit, and so I was able to scoot by with like be average. My parents were never really around. Everybody had mental health issues in my home. There was my mom, my sister, and you know, from the time, if you were ever raised in a home that has mental health issues, and like money is always the root, you know, like, what the fuck, you know, you spent this much, you got to be saving this. Like, we grew up poor and stayed poor by having that fucking poor mentality. That's for damn sure. There was a way out of it. I knew that from the get-go. But growing up in that environment, you got to be on the lookout all the time, situationally aware. You got to look at people's faces, determine what they look like at what point. Is that motherfucker gonna flip? Oh shit, look at this. That look again. That last time a shoe fucking hit me in the eye. You know, it's like that type of relationship. So when you grow up like that, it really forces you to be aware of everything around you. So I say anybody who had any sort of traumatic childhood, traumatic experiences, whatever it was, that is probably a superpower if you haven't realized how to harness it. But you probably can't figure out how to harness it because that shit fucked you up. And I just figured out how to harness mine now so that I can balance it and better understand what's going on in any situation and be able to react in a more positive way. But that's because of the things like self-hypnosis and the guided meditation and finding the right breath work to get me out of that like old fucking traumas that were buried up in my head from when I was a kid. And so I just learned all the wrong habits, but I think I probably did a couple hundred hours of community service by the time that I was 16. But I was, I was a good kid, so on the side where I wasn't being influenced by my best friend and older brother. Like, we did shit like dug holes, and I'm not talking about like little holes. Like, we dug like a fucking 8-foot hole, and covered it with branches. It'd be maybe like 4 feet wide by 8 feet deep, and we would try to trap shit in there. And I didn't know, but he ultimately told me we were trying to trap the neighbor, and the neighbor would lose his cats back there in the back of our house, and he was building a fucking trap for the neighbor, and he fucking caught the neighbor, and he was happy, and I'm like, what the fuck? And he was happy, and so I was happy. I didn't know that shit wasn't right. Things like fireworks, firecrackers, like what I thought was funny, because my brother was like, whether he was like beating me or whipping me or we're playing some games, it gets too rough, whatever it was, I thought that was fun. So I reciprocated that to other people, not understanding that, that shit is not fun. That shit is abusive. And we had a very odd, unhealthy relationship. And it's because my mom and my dad just stuck my mental health issued brother to bunk with me and raise me for all intents and purposes, on top of whatever I got from my familial structure. So that kind of shaped me. I punched holes in walls. Like, I had anger issues like that. And it was because of the parents really just making me go mute, never really thinking that my word mattered and my opinion mattered. And I just wanted to keep the peace because I was living in a house with mental health issues. I don't want to fucking be fighting all the time. And I would talk to my mom now. We live close. We moved back from Vegas to Sarasota to like be closer to parents. So I get wisdom from my mom. And I was like, what was it like when I was a kid? She was like, you just wanted to be close to me all the time. And she was like, you were quiet. And I was like, oh shit, it's because my brother was fucking whooping my fucking ass all the time. I was fucking, didn't even remember that until she brought that old trauma up. I'm like, damn, that's fucked up. And even that sort of thing, I reciprocated that to people that I was going up to, like a neighbor kid. Like, we walk up and I'm hitting a neighbor kid with a stick in the back of the leg, and I think it's funny, I get thrown off the bus for like 6 months or something. For the rest of the year I get kicked off and like thrown out of school for a year. I've fucking got hazed and like soccer, and then also did a lot of hazing and bullying. Like, it's just because that shit was ultimately inherited by what somebody said and shaped my opinion of what it was to be a good person. And so that really wreaked havoc amongst all of my relationships up until my current one, even in my current one as well. But again, having those experiences helped make me more cunning in the world for sure, and smarter in business. Punching holes in walls, getting kicked out. I moved out of my parents' house when I was 16 into a condo in downtown Hartford with some other chick for like 2 months, and like just we were like raiding fucking gold and silver coins from her grandpa's collection where they were in Florida for 6 months out of the year. We were just doing stupid shit, drinking Boone's Farm and trying to get money just to smoke some weed and have a good time. And so all of that was my idea of what was fun. So getting up into like the college area, everybody was different. Everybody I had this totally different life, and I didn't really understand it. It was like the first time that I really understood what a white person was, because in Hartford it's not like that at all. There's just a hodgepodge of all sorts of different people, and it's been like that for such a long time and everybody rags on each other all the time. Like, there's been racist shit said. I've said racist shit. People have said racist shit to me. I've had my head shoved into a locker. My last name starts with a W. It was between Williams, Williamson, Willis, and I had to ask these guys that were this big every day, can I please get into my locker? I got shoved into that locker plenty of times and called all sorts of different shit But it's okay, because I said stupid shit in my life as well. When you're surrounded with the wrong people, when you're surrounded with people that maybe aren't the best influence to you at the time, you attract those type of people if you have a certain type of personality, or you have a certain type of vibration, that low vibrational energy. So in college, I didn't have anybody with my matching vibrational energy at all. I got a chance to go to UMass and live in this tower. It was called Coolidge Tower, and it was in the Southwest. And they had 24 floors, condo style. And I was on a floor where I think there was 36 people, and I think it was like maybe 24 or 26 were girls. And it was like that for 3 floors up and 2 floors down. And I was just still a little chitter chatterbox, going around. And I'm like, okay, this is cool. I introduced myself to every single person. Hey, I'm Brian. Nice to meet you. Hey, I'm Brian. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. And got a chance to meet everybody, have great experiences. And then I bought weed. And then I created a little distribution network so that I could, make more friends. And then I made friends with the people that were running the floors, the dorm managers. I had them going out, running me, getting me some booze, and I was providing some good times. And I got a little bit of LSD, a little bit of mushrooms, and started to collect a nice little group of people, and integrated a bunch of experiences. And it was not to make money ever. It was just to be able to have a good time, and see everybody have a good time, and be a part of that for the group that I was hanging around, knowing that I don't form any attachments with anything at all, ever. I never have, never will. I have attachments now with my family, but anything at any given time is for sale if it is not my family. Anything. For my house, sure, you're going to pay a premium for it. You want something? I don't care. Everything is for sale. You want my dog? I'll be heartbroken, but she's got a price too, so everything is for sale. I would never sell my dog, by the way. I just thought about it. Crushing. No. I have my old dog. I have a tattoo of her because she was so special to me, having a Rottweiler. So I have another Rottweiler, and this is the sweetest dog. So, anyways, going back to the UMass days and those college people. So I had a chance to really start falling into this group where I was able to bring in, I was working at like a hardware support, like building computers. I still understood that shit for whatever reason. And I started talking with some of the people in there, and they're like, oh, you seem like you have a bunch of friends and you can really talk well. Would you be interested in, if I fronted you some weed, some really nice weed, would you go and sell it? I'm like, okay, I could do that. And so I started getting that, and then instead of hanging out at the UMass crowd, I would just go back to Connecticut, go back to Hartford, and then go hang out with all my boys in Hartford. We would hit some of the clubs and, go to UConn and raves, and do the same thing. Be bringing things from up there down into the Hartford area. And, that was probably 1998 to 2002, before like surveillance was a thing and everything. So none of that shit actually happened because nobody ever saw it, never existed. So back in then, like it was a nice little run to keep going back and forth and hanging out, and I get to go stay at my parents' house and do laundry, go do groceries. And my mom used to pawn me off in the grocery store. She said, hey, go look at all the cashiers, go pick one out over there. Which one do you think that you could get? I was like, all right, I'm gonna choose that one. And I go for whatever one that my mom pointed me to, and said, go over there and go sweet talk her and get her to take extra coupons. So that is also how I was raised, which is kind of fucked up. I just thought of that for the first time. Awesome. Yeah, that's awesome. Oh shit, my parents are still like that with money and coupons. You could still be smart with your money, how you spend it, credit card miles and all that stuff too. You don't need a coupon like that, but you can save a lot of money with the coupons. Coming out of I ran into this group, and we were starting to, and this is at UMass, and they were guys that were, like my Hartford friends, like a mixture of Spanish, black, white guys. Well, a lot of the guys from up north in Boston, like North Shore of Boston, they're all like white, super white thugs, like, and they're super white thugs, and they're still up there all the same. But yeah, we go in with this crowd, and we would go in and start moving more and more stuff, and then it just got a little odd. It got really too close for comfort, and I was like, oh, I gotta stop doing this. And I started looking at how to transfer to Florida to go get out and go chase my brother, same brother that, you know, that raised me basically. And he was like, come down here, see where you can transfer your credits. So I tried to apply to Florida State, University of Florida, Miami, all of them. And University of Florida took most of the credits, and so I was able to work on a transfer. And in the midst of this final time that I'm up at UMass, we lived in a place called Hobart Lane, and it was probably one of the last times there was a Hobart hoedown. It was also my going away party, and like, you know, I'd made a nice little network of people and had a really big house and 5 roommates. We had beer pong. It was full contact beer pong as well. I don't know if you know, it's any loose ball on the side of the table, it's a free ball. And we played with a, you know, 4x8 piece of plywood and sawhorses, and it was sharp edges, and we played in the garage, and we had a giant ice luge usually on rotation. And yeah, we played real aggressive beer pong, had this massive party, and I was walking around, and I had a self-made shirt, little sign, and it said 2 tits, 2 shots, and I was walking around with 2 bottles of Bacardi in my pocket. And yeah, it was a really fun time. You know, I have a couple pictures of those, but nothing really of any consequence now, but it just was a great time to remember. And on that same weekend, we all are getting ready to leave my house, and some sort of altercation over beer pong takes place, and there's a fight. I throw everybody out of the house and close up the house, but apparently these guys tried to go back into the house after I left, and they stole some of my like kitchen knives, because I like to chef shit up, and they had some sort of fucking stab fest with my kitchen knives that they broke into my house. And I was like, yo, this is the final straw, and I just fucking took off. And I said to myself, fuck, that was crazy. I gotta reinvent myself and get the fuck out of here. When I go to Florida, no more drugs, no weed, no nothing. Just gonna go focus, and I am gonna change my name from Brian. I'm gonna go by Bri, B-R-I. Why? Because when I saw there was like in Hartford, Brian was unique. There was like maybe 2, but in Florida, at University of Florida, there's like fucking 50 of them. I'm like, fuck, how am I gonna differentiate myself? So I differentiated by saying I'm Bri, and it worked really well. I was able to find a nice little group of people, and they remembered me for it. But you know, getting down to University of Florida, it was very, very difficult without weed to do well. Like, I stressed, and I did everything that I was supposed to do, but it was still tough. So I get down there when I'm 20 and about to turn 21. It's about to turn 21, I think, in like maybe 3 weeks or something like that. So this is right when I get down there, and I still have my my Jetta. I had a navy blue tinted out Jetta from Hartford. I had like two 10s in the back, and it was just knocking nicely, of course. But that was what worked in Hartford, Connecticut. It didn't really work in Gainesville, Florida. And so there's phases between apartment complexes. You have phase 1 and a phase 2, and you have to drive out of the gate to go to phase 1 and to phase 2, or take a very long walk. I for whatever reason had to go back to my apartment for something. I don't remember. I probably spilled something on myself after taking Jello shots. I think that's what it was. It's exactly what it was. I spilled on myself, and I was wearing a like yellow ass shirt. It was obnoxious. And I've got the system going, and I pull into my spot, and a police officer is there, Gainesville police officer, and he says, you know, you're basically drunk driving. And I walked the line and did the whole sobriety thing, and I just recovered my VHS test for tape from it. So I'm gonna have to see how to convert that, see if I can get that obnoxious red stained yellow shirt that was on there, see if I can confirm that. Um, but I remember that I wasn't feeling that buzz, and I thought I might have winked at the camera or something, or smiled. Like, I think that I did something fucking jerky, and I still wound up going to jail again. This time it was the third time in such a short time. Shit, such a short time. Yeah, 4 times total. 4 times total. Shit. But there was I hired a really good lawyer in Gainesville. I hired a great Jewish lawyer, and I'm Jewish by my mom is Jewish, my dad is Roman Catholic, so by Jewish law I'm Jewish. It's great, it's fine. Use that whenever I need to go get an attorney. I will take that and I will play that card every single time I can. So we find that the officer heard me coming, and he said, he was like, "Where'd you hear my client coming from?" And it was like 200 feet away or something like that. And there was some law that said if it's within 150 feet that you can hear it, it would seem like it would be a lawful arrest. So it was an unlawful arrest because the officer testified that he heard it outside of how the distance was, what the law said. So it ultimately got thrown out, but I still had to go through with the, lose your license, lose all your shit, rack up all the bills, disappoint your family, all that shit again, once again. And that was pretty humbling after getting there, and I just buckled down and just tried to blend in as much as possible. And I just wanted to get the hell out of college as soon as I possibly could. It was a great experience at University of Florida, but I was there just to try to complete it because I knew that you had to get a degree, and that was the only way that you could go and get something done in this world, is by having a degree. And now I know that that's bullshit. That was just something that was ingrained in my head. But the reality is, it didn't matter. I came out with a degree, and the only thing I really learned in college is how to work with fucking impossible people, and that everybody's fucking selfish and everybody's out for themselves. And if I want to count on somebody, I have to make sure that I can do their work as well. So I have to know all angles, and that probably comes from that mental health side, but I don't know. But that's how I approached it. I finished out college, and I went and I followed that degree route right into corporate America, and I said, fuck that shit. I worked there for 16 months at a company. I outperformed everybody in the office, 40 people doing sales. I was running fucking circles around them, and it didn't matter. And the hustle had no effect. They said, "Oh, you just gotta wait your turn and go and bark yourself up the chain." I'm like, nah, fuck that. So I left, and very shortly after that, I went independent, realizing that I can do whatever I want to do, and I have done whatever I wanted to do my entire life. Every fucking day. I love work. I've known nothing other than work since I was a kid. Fucking hustling snow shovel deals, raking leaves, seeing if I could make money to go and do something, to go have fun. So nothing's ever made sense other than work, and do good work. If you do good work, you get more work. But it hasn't always equaled, great success. It has, it seems like overall, as I get older, I have more here. It seems like I'm getting more, and we're growing from that perspective. But man, it's a wild ride. The money's like this always. It wasn't until more of that meditation that I said, fuck, well, what is money? And when I've lost huge sums of money, $500,000 more, one fucking shot, I no longer felt that money was real. And I was like, wait a second. Oh, these are just fucking numbers in an app. And I've seen crypto things collapse. And those go pancake flat. I thought those would never go there. And I was like, what's the difference? There's nothing here. It's what am I actually doing with myself today? What's making me happy? Do I have everything to make me happy? And the answer is yes, and more. So I just think that that's a profound way to start looking at self improvement, is being able to take some of the things like the obsession of money and being able to look at it differently and be able to define your own happiness. Because I didn't realize that I did whatever the fuck I wanted to do my entire life until I also did the guided meditation and hypnosis. So I think the more that you can try things on your own that help you to deal with some of those things that were not so normal, maybe from your early childhood. Maybe you remember them, maybe you don't. Maybe there's some hidden shit. But I do know I can share it because I don't care. I'm over it. I'm well past that shit now. So um, the way to kind of look at self hypnosis, if I was going to try to oversimplify and make it as easy to digest as possible, is it allows you to process the way that you think about things differently. And so for me, I had a lot of traumas that I would unconsciously and subconsciously think about. So there was experiences from a childhood that might have come up, and it would be dormant for like, I don't know, years, and then all of a sudden I'd have a random ass thought about something traumatic from childhood, and I just said, shake that shit off, and just like everybody else probably, and said, no, whatever, that's nothing, just fucking let that shit go. You don't need to think about that shit. So I know that was a sign for me. If you have anything that creeps up in your subconscious or unconscious, you dream about it, or you're just overreacting about something like that you've heard from a few people, like you're overreacting, I would look and say it would take how you perceive yourself in that situation. So it allows you to listen and tell yourself in your own words and relive in your own mind using your third eye and really nice meditation and getting into a good spot for self-hypnosis, but using your third eye to really perceive what happened. And it's a regression, and if you go into the regression and try to resolve some of these things, it will, for me, I can tell you, as soon as I was able to find resolve, and it was like just one day, I shed fucking tears, like a fucking waterfall of tears, and I wasn't wailing or anything. It was just like running fucking water out of my eyes while I was on a walk, and it was done after like 30 seconds, and then that was it. I was done. Everything was gone. And that's when I said to Heather, I think that's when I gained enlightenment at that point, because everything that I understand about enlightenment now matches that to a T. And that's the type of wisdom that I think is important, to be able to share, especially if you can accomplish it on your own. Enlightenment is not what you think it is. It's just my opinion only. Enlightenment is taking the things that you unconsciously fear and that are dark, whether they're old experiences or inherited traits that you got from your parents, or experiences that you've had with other relationships or anything like that. Those things cling to you, and they cling to your energy, all of it. So if you can put those things behind you, you're going to be able to only see the positive in things. And I have a strong belief that if you just listen to whatever it is that's fighting you for 21 days straight, it has a cumulative effect, and everything in your life will change for the good. You don't have to do any more than convince yourself using your own thoughts that you are everything that you're supposed to be, and you'll know exactly what you're supposed to do once you have these things off of your back. And money is the primary thing that people have eating them alive. And so there are things to change your relationship with how you look at money, because we do need it to function. However, you can also find ways to take things that you love, things that you want to do with your life when you get into this better frame of mind, this enlightened frame of mind. Then you'll be able to go out and say, I can use this to be able to generate income because I'll be following my heart path. Your heart is the heart center. It's where everything ultimately stems from. Yes, we think with our brains, but we also think with our hearts. And if you think about any situation that you've ever really, call it manifested, you can call it whatever, desired, wanted. If you think about any of those times when you really wanted something with all of your heart, didn't you get it? Because you willed it to you, because it's strong enough here to convince this that things are going to be okay as long as you stick with this. Let this thing lead you from the center. So the only way to lead this is by settling the traumas that have affected this. And that's my opinion on it, just one of them. We'll talk about this another day too, because I'm going to go pick up my daughter Lily, and yeah, it was good to air that out.